Regular followers of my YouTubes will understand this photo. For detail, just stop the YouTube and read it. This month's council meeting is on this Monday at 5:30. I recommend everybody live stream. I put a question from the gallery. Did current staff or previous staff ever verify the floodplain boundary as required by Principle 7 Land Division Rural Living 4 for any of the developments or other reasons where the floodplain boundary was required to be verified since they have been employed by the City of Victor Harbor? Of course, you know I'm talking about Director Pathuis and possibly Coventry, the head planner. Her Worship Mayor Jenkins will say this question will not be tolerated. It has been asked for 10 years and has been answered for 10 years. It is correct, I have been asking the same or similar question for 10 years. But Mayor Jenkins has given you a blatant lie if she said it has been answered, or I have completely forgotten the answer. So for the benefit of people watching, maybe she would like to produce a copy of the answer. That would be simple. Let's watch and see all this horseshit coming up Monday night. My earlier YouTube explained the breach of the Development Act. The question is, could Director Pathuis please explain this breach and the process made by the insurance company to elected members and the public, and what he intends to do about it if there has been no progress at all? Please explain, Mr Pathuis. Of course, he will stay under his rock. If I have had the answers, then please copy them and give them to other people. That's not complicated. Of course, it's the same old story for 10 years. Staff have never used this map that verifies the floodplain. This map is a hidden archenemy. They verified the floodplain that show all the developments on land that should have belonged to ratepayers as public reserve. Shonky business from the original subdivision has continued for 10 years. Last week's YouTube explained the breach of the Development Act. The facts were brought forward by council's own investigators. Of course, an insurance company would hide that. Of course, staff like Mr Pathuis would hide that. Of course, head planner Coventry would hide that. It was made so blatant and clear by council investigators, I can't understand why elected members haven't yet twigged it. A breach of the Act is a big deal. We're not talking about Mayor Jenkins. We're not talking about Director Pathuis or Head Planner Coventry. We're not even talking about Councillor Schofield's blatant lies and the $16,000 spent on investigating breastfeeding of Councillor Charles's dog. This is the Development Act. The original breach, and then the breach by Mr Pathuis when he subdivided Lot 25 with no authority. All this has cost ratepayers dearly. They have lost all that floodplain which is supposed to be reserved for public and for future generations, with assistance of staff by the developer. Are ratepayers being looked after by their elected members? And where has the $2 million gone? The main reason for this YouTube is questions on notice 18.2 that will be coming up. Elected members are directors of ratepayers' company. My series of YouTubes have shown staff lies, deceptions and inconsistencies, so why the hell would elected members accept advice from any of those staff? That said, the contempt which Mr Pathuis treats our directors with the answers in these questions is absolutely disgusting and would never be tolerated outside of council. Why the hell do elected members and ratepayers put up with this bullshit? It wouldn't happen outside of Victor Harbor Council. I will not go into detail. That will be for next week's video after I've heard what happens at this meeting. I urge everybody to tune in and just see what sort of horseshit comes up this week. However, for the benefit of the honest elected members, I will give a little history lesson. In 2010, Mr Pathuis claimed he used figure 4 to show the location of the floodplain and some developments. Later, an independent surveyor said that was impossible. You can't use that concept to show anything. Around 2014, Mr Pathuis was asked for all the maps from the original subdivision. Mr Pathuis treated them with contempt and gave them a couple of concept maps you could do nothing with. Before that time, January 2012, Junior Planner Russell accidentally gave me the true floodplain map. 999254, Mr Pathuis's arch enemy. You can follow the history and watch Mr Pathuis try and keep away from his arch enemy, 999254. Junior Planner Russell even put 999254 in an affidavit and said, "This is the map that defined the extent of the floodplain." Almost exactly the same words the hydrologist Ken Chalk said in 2017, the map that defines the floodplain and the map that should be used for all assessments along the river. That is what Mr Pathuis is hiding from everybody. In 2017, Mr Pathuis fooled all elected members. A big discussion in the chamber with all elected members about Stock Road and Lower Inman Valley. He was asked if he had floodplain mapping of the whole area. Very clever Mr Pathuis said, "No, we don't have it for the whole area." Make believe the intention of the question as if we had the map for the whole of Victor Harbour, the whole of South Australia, the whole of the world. You knew very well the intention of the question was, did we have the whole map 999254? And that, I believe, is the question, the intention of the question the elected member is trying to ask this week. The elected member is trying to get information, and Mr Pathuis is again being very clever. Sadly, Mr Stanford has been brought in on this. I would ignore Mr Pathuis and ask Mr Stanford. For 20 years, Council has had the true floodplain map with a much larger floodplain which should all be reserve, and it's been hidden on Mr Pathuis's cupboard. Why would you not use a true floodplain map?